Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll start in just a few moments. Glad you're here.
I'm gonna grab a headset and get the dogs fed. Yay. Can you add the link in the message?
Uh, it's Janine. She needs it sent to her.
Okay, I'll find the email and forward it to her. Will you tell her that?
Okay. While we're waiting for people to show up, especially Jared with Civilytics, I put the OC budget hearing toolkit in the chat. So in case you want to familiarize yourself a little bit with tomorrow and what's going on.
Hmm. Let's see.
And again, thanks for the flexibility
Dave,
for the
can you
time.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh-oh. I can't hear you. Why am I? Oh, I see. Turn up volume. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can still hear you.
All right. Somehow it's not coming through my. Let's see. Bluetooth.
Check your mute button on your computer.
Yeah, right.
I'm
Device.
going to put the toolkit in the chat again.
There we go.
Hi, Stephanie. Glad you could join. So while we're waiting for Jared and maybe a couple other people to join us, um, the link I just put in the chat might help to get you a little bit more familiarized with a little bit of the budget, as well as what our action is tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you for putting it in the chat, David.
And we had, well, thanks for being here. That's still waiting for Jared. Here's Jared. Hello, Jared.
How are you guys?
Well, I'm well. Thank you
Good.
for being here and accommodating the time slot.
No problem. It's the only downside of working with Orange County, so I don't mind.
Okay, thank you. Now, how far on the East Coast? You've told me before, but for the others in the room,
As far as it gets,
no,
Boston.
Boston. Okay, there you go. Well, you are probably our furthest visitor, I'm sure, for the day. So I'm going to put the toolkit that HHROC has put together, put it in the chat. Jared, you've contributed quite a bit to this, a little bit of what we've done in the past and some updated notes that you've provided. Thank you. Um, And then tomorrow, our action at the Board of Supervisors, where we share all of your brilliance and findings with the supervisors in the hope that they make better decisions and help the county out for those who need it the most. And I'm not talking about the Orange County sheriffs.
All right.
And did everybody see that Voice of OC story? And Eve quoted about the jails, that might be where some of our folks are that didn't get counted in the point in time count. I thought that was a great twist, which was super. Because it does tend to make sense. The rate of incarceration is up all the way around, and unhoused folks are in that crew. Great to see Jared. He's in the middle of his night soon. What a great group. I'll be quiet most of the time, but I am looking forward to who will be there tomorrow. We'll do other follow-ups quarterly, as we've now figured out they hide many of their updates in regular agenda minutes. Isn't that clever? Versus a public setting of some sort where they would share things. And I know we'll be curious about what the county's going to do for a presentation. If you've noticed on the agenda, it looks like they almost have a full agenda, and then they have the budget hearing. And I tried to look today to see if they had updated that at all. And Stephanie was here, and other folks had sent in some letters that got reflected. That's my yappy dog. But more of the kind of acting surprised at comments, and they told Dave they're going to have a whole different way they do it. So it may be that they do it much later. Won't that be fun? Oh, Jared's got a note too. Anyway, welcome all. I'll be good and quiet and take some notes. And we are recording, right, Dave? So we'll have this for others. And all of it we build on as we go through the year. And Jared and Hannah have come to know and love Orange County in such a special way that they're able to pull stuff out rather quickly, which is delightful.
So,
Thank you,
Pat,
Pat.
if I could just jump in really quickly about the point in time count. I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago with some of the people from the coordinated entry system in the county, and I specifically asked them about people who are incarcerated because that's, the population that we serve at my organization. And they said for anyone that has been incarcerated for 90 days or longer, that there is a break in homelessness. And so that is what they used when they did the numbers this time around. When people expressed and said that they had been homeless for 15, 20 years, they said, no, if you've been incarcerated for 90 days or longer, or if you have slept on someone's couch for 6 days or more, you have had a break in homelessness, and your length of time in homelessness history starts over.
Wow. That would be something to write as a response to Voice of OC. I'm not surprised by that response, because that's what they would do to folks who would get a motel for 6 nights or something, and then all of a sudden they were back on the bottom of the list. So it's a clever way to avoid serving folks. So most frustrated, but that's great. Glad you were in that space. There's so many meetings we hear and learn different things, and love sharing it.
That is truly amazing, Stephanie, but I'm not surprising coming from the county. I hate to sound so prejudiced about that, but it's just another story of how they play with numbers. That's the best way to describe it. Let's go ahead and get started, and I want to start off by introducing Jared from Civilytics Consulting. He's visiting with us today from Boston, so it's a little bit later over there. Thank you, Jared, for being here. For the last few years, Jared has done tremendous work. Jared and Hannah, um, they've both done some tremendous work in evaluating the budget. That's their job. That's what their expertise is all about, along with other municipalities and school boards, et cetera, et cetera. And without further ado, Jared, why don't you go ahead and enlighten us? And just as a reminder, everything is being recorded. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I put together a little slideshow with just a few of the, facts that would be, most valuable to get across to the supervisors. So I think if you don't mind, I will go ahead and share my screen and kind of talk through those. And these are largely the same facts that are in the toolkit, but I'll just do a little voiceover of them and discuss them here. So it looks like it's coming up. You should be seeing slideshow.
Got it.
Oh yeah, but that's not the right one. That's your toolkit, which looks great, by the way. Um,
And I got your notes about making some changes in there. Thank you.
yeah, that's I was doing some fact checking, so it's always good to do fact checking, and I did kind of mess up one of the revenue calculations. So I want to make sure I got you the right number, although I'm not sure everyone in this county would know the difference.
We can also use some of these slides. If you see something, you who are going to be there tomorrow that you like, we can print copies and we can use them as overheads. And they do allow us that pretty easily to share with the wider audience.
Yeah, for some
and we
reason
can
it's
give
not
us,
coming up.
and we can also give a set if we want to the board member.
Do you see his slides now or no?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
I did make you co-host, so it's
Yeah.
working.
It's showing me that I'm sharing a blank screen, which I told it not to share a blank screen. So one more thing. Let's try this one. And
It's still showing the blank screen. It shows you're sharing though.
I know it's very strange. I've never had that happen before. I'm gonna be brave and share my entire desktop, which is gonna look really messy for a second. And see if that comes up. Huh. All right, let's try this one worked for some reason. Hmm. Not encountered this before. Let me rejoin the meeting real quick, Dave. I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem. Go
See
ahead.
if that works.
We're not going anywhere.
All right.
So again, thank everybody for the flexibility with the time change. Ordinarily it'd be 7 o'clock, but for Jared, that gets later into the evening. So we're trying to accommodate his schedule. And he's got another meeting in LA that he was doing tonight. So he was kind enough to make some room for us. I think he's got a hard leave at 6 p.m.
Right. He starts with the LA County Budget Group. Also, we might want to do the intros in the chat if your name, the group you're here as part of, and bring to our information sharing. And we might want to consider starting earlier because 7 o'clock gets kind of late after a while. So we might thank Jared for considering how we could shorten our days too. Anyway, thank you. Welcome back. Let's hope that works. And if it's something we're doing on our end, Dave
It's
can figure that out.
it's most certainly on my end. I'm sure of that. Let's see.
And I just made you a co-host again. So Jared, if this for whatever technical reason isn't going to be working, um, maybe at least a verbal review.
Yeah, I can do that. I can definitely just talk through it. And it's the same
Okay.
order as the toolkit pretty much. So I'll do that and I'll
Okay.
figure out I'll send the slides afterward. The first most important thing in the OC budget this year to point out is that the county is budgeting flat, but it's not because the county is losing money. So the county is actually projecting that its own general purpose revenue will increase by 1% next year. But it's actually reducing a lot of its property and casualty risk transfers and financing uses of money. So this is a thing they did last year. They increased a lot of they last budget had a lot of financing uses and property and casualty risk insurance transfers. That wasn't really thoroughly explained last year when I looked at it this time. But it was a big spike. So the budget looks like it's down from last year, but that was because last year had this anonymous one-time kind of funding surge. But general purpose revenue, which is what folks need to be caring about and focusing on, what the is sort of represents the fiscal health of the county's revenue sources, that's actually up 1%. So there is 1% is not enough to cover inflation, but also this is the first stage of the two-stage budget process. We haven't seen the augmentations yet, and we don't know the final numbers of the state budget. So at this stage in the budget, it's pretty much business as usual, but the county's sort of framing it as a reduction. And importantly, a lot of you are probably concerned about, aware of, or worried about thinking about reductions in state or federal funding sources that affect the services and programs you advocate for. And the budget, county budget, doesn't really reflect an anticipated reduction in those revenue sources. So they are not planning on those resources not being there. And in some cases, they're actually planning on getting more federal money than they got in the past, but not planning on having more local money. So I think that's important distinction to think about, especially because what we're going to focus on and what's really important to focus on in California is how much and how the county spends its own money, which it uses the jargonly term net county cost. And that's the money that the county supervisors are in control of and can deploy to carry out the duties of the county. They can't really control federal housing voucher money. If the county gets the federal housing voucher money, they got to do what HUD says with that money. But with their own money, they can choose what to do. And so we're going to stay focused on the net county cost. I have a couple graphs in this presentation, which you might want to put in the toolkit as a late addition, just recontextualizing the county's budget survey. The survey is not good, right? They only got like 758 residents, but since they put it in their budget, you can use it in your argument. And the community ranked the departments in the exact reverse order that the county funds the departments with net county costs. So it put community services the highest. Then they put infrastructure, then public protection, then insurance and reserves. And actually, they fund public protection the most. They fund community service, I guess, the second most, infrastructure the third most, way behind the other two, and then insurance and reserves. Why would anyone care about that? So that's obviously last for the community, and it's the last for net county cost as well. So it's really a good, useful advocacy point to say what the community ranked as number one, the county funds second. And what the community ranked as number two, the county funds third, and what the community ranked third, the county funds as first with its own money. Yeah, the county's money basically goes mostly to public protection, which includes more than the sheriff. That also includes probation and the DA's office. And so that's winds up being around $746 million in public protection funding of the county's budget, compared to $6.5 million that goes to community resources from the county's budget. So the total budgets for those two departments look closer together, but when you look at that layer deeper, what are the board's decisions doing? You'll see that the board is funding basically $114 for every one that goes into community services, $114 is going into public protection. Another useful rhetorical strategy is to compare housing to the jail. So, of net county costs, the jail costs approximately $320 million to OC taxpayers. And basically, the amount that the county spends on housing from net county cost is it's not $0 million, but it's less than $1 million. So you can round to $0 million. So that distinction is really sharp. Now, the county will immediately answer you and say, well, we spent 456 million total on the jail, but we spend 372 million total dollars on housing. We spend a lot of money on housing. But the truth is they don't spend their own money. They spend Sacramento and Washington, D.C.'s money. And if that money goes away, then those programs will go away and the people they serve will be left without any services. And a lot of people think those programs will go away. And also the county is spending a large share of the jail, a large share of the total jail funding is spent by the county's discretionary funds in the net county costs. So I think that's also a really important point. So it's helpful to just draw the sharpest distinction between the choices the county makes. And they do have a choice of how to spend that 320 million that gets spent on the jail, and they could spend some of it on housing instead. The county highlights 3 construction projects in the budget, and all of them are either reentry services for folks coming out of jail or correctional facility of themselves. So that the total bill of those this year in capital costs, which is not part of the ongoing funding, but is important money that could be spent to deploy to build other capital like parks and infrastructure and housing, is $112 million. So that's just this year alone, those projects that the county is highlighting in its budget are $112 million of construction and building costs for correctional facilities. And another point is that even if the supervisors want to say the budget's flat, it's not flat for the sheriff's department. Their share of net county costs, the amount of net county costs they're getting, is going up. It went up by 7.4%. And that's in a case where the total amount available went up by 1%. So it's true to say that this is a choice, a continued choice, and they're continuing to make that choice regardless of the fiscal conditions. And one of the headlines achievements that the department touted for last year is that they had $10.7 million they spent on jail renovations, and they won an award for the expansion of the music jail. They don't say anything about cost control or providing better safety to people in the community. So I think that's also could be useful as a strategy. The county has an office for homelessness services. It has a total budget of 48 million, of which the county provides 15 million. So as a proportion, the county's doing more on homelessness than it is on housing, where it's not providing anything. But if you compare it to the amount that the county spends on the jail, again, 15 million to 320 million spent on the jail, the county has much more invested in a housing strategy related to incarceration than it does to a strategy related to shelter and permanent supportive housing. Another point that might be helpful for some advocates outside of thinking about the carceral system is the county does a report every winter, usually right at the start of the calendar year, that reviews all their staffing levels of all the departments and tries to right size the staffing. And in that report, we could find out that the healthcare agency has a 15% vacancy rate. So more than 1 out of every 7 jobs in the healthcare agency is not filled by someone providing the job right now, compared to 6.4% for the sheriff's office. And high vacancy is usually a sign that either the staff isn't being paid competitively or something's not going well at the agency. And that could be a lever for arguing for more funding for those services, for example. I'll pause. I see David has his hand up.
Jared, sorry
No
to bother,
problem.
but I'm hoping that at some point in time, um, you talked a little bit about what the county constantly tells the public in regards to uh, how they're spending the money, and that the county is mandated to spend it on this or that or something else. So either now or when it's most convenient for you, could you please let us know a little bit more about the quote unquote mandated expenditures? Thank you.
Yes, great reminder, David. The county will tell you, they even say in their budget that approximately 90% of what they do, the budget is for mandated services. It's kind of a trick, especially related to the jail and the sheriff's department, in that it is technically true that state law mandates that counties operate a jail and a sheriff's department. And there's some functions that those departments have to provide in order for the county to meet its requirements to the state. But it's very clear in the state statute that the service level of the sheriff's department is at the discretion of the county. That is, if the state cared about the service level, then the state would just do it on its own. But the point is that it's supposed to let the county decide what level of a sheriff's department is appropriate for the county's needs. So I would say the pushback line to the county, to Board of Supervisors, is to always say, yes, the services are mandated, but the service level is discretionary, and the service level equals the spending. You could even just say, if you wanted to be more clear, the service is mandated, but the spending level is discretionary. And you know that that's true because counties make different choices in California in how much they spend on their jail, how much they spend on their sheriff's department. And so it's I think really important to say it's sort of pointless to budget if you just say things are mandated. It's like if you said, well, you have to have an electric bill, and you said, well, the way I'm going to pay my electric bill is I'm going to hire like 50,000 people to pedal bikes on the street and power a generator, and I'm going to pay them all a huge wage. Yeah, your electric bill is going to be really inefficient and really high, and it looks ridiculous. You are required to have electricity for your budget, but you didn't have to do it in this inefficient and ineffective way. And that's definitely true about the state statutes surrounding mandated services. Where the service level is mandated, that's when there's funding tied to things. That when you accept state funding for something, then that entity does have a service level mandated with what you're supposed to achieve with the state funding. And I think they try to obfuscate that by saying, well, we accept state money to run the jail. Yeah, but then why do you pay 3/4 of the jail price? Why you're paying extra to operate the jail beyond what the state funding would support? I think that argument can go, they'll use it one way, but you can turn it around and use it the other way to say, why don't you just operate the jail for the cost the state's willing to make it worth your while to operate it at? I see Alice had her hand up.
Yes, I was going to give an example of that from the grand jury report that said this in terms of how the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, for instance, around healthcare. The Board of Supervisors should partner with nonprofit service providers in each district that are focused on preventive measures to reduce homelessness. The program could be similar to Supervisor Chafee's Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which partnered with the Friendly Center, a nonprofit in his district that emphasizes prevention. These partnerships should be implemented by June 30th, 2026. So that's an important issue, I think, that could come up in relationship to discretionary spending and where the impetus is. And this was a direct recommendation last year. It would seem to me it's let me see, it doesn't say, yeah, it's from the Superior Court it was submission of 2024 to 2025, and they do have mandatory deadlines for those funds. And then the other one was, well, there are 5 recommendations that they made, but they all have to do with that. For instance, the Board of Supervisors should request that the Commission to address homelessness prepare a plan outlining current and future next 2 years prevention strategies. The Commission should submit this plan to the Board of Supervisors by December 31st, 2025, and annually thereafter. So there are some recommendations made by that court, the grand jury, to the judge of that court, are related to where spending needs to be increased. And I'm not sure that any of that is actually showing in the budget analysis.
Yeah, I think that's another great point is to say these are mandated things as well, and we don't see them showing up in the budget. So what is mandated seems open to interpretation by the board. I think that's a really good point to bring forward, Alice. I see Tom has his hand up.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for all this great input. I had a couple of questions. I'm looking at the county's summary of net county costs. And they've got for each program, there are 7 programs ranging from public protection to insurance reserves and miscellaneous. They have an appropriations column, a revenue column, and a net county cost. And the net county cost is just the difference between appropriations and revenue. So can you please define appropriations and revenue in this context?
Yeah, it's a good question. So appropriations is how much they intend to spend total. So
Okay.
they set that amount. The revenue is how much they're going to bring in from all of the sources that aren't generated by the county. They call it program revenue, right? If the health agency receives a big grant from HHS, they get a block
Right.
grant from this. So they total all that up and they say, well, then it's up to the county to make up the difference, hence the net county
Right.
cost.
So in this context, what's the revenue of 2.995 million for debt service? How do they get revenue for debt service?
It might be I don't know like some of the details in a budget are so esoteric. It could be that they received a refund from a payment they made too much in the past. It can be hard to trace stuff like that down. I'd have to
So,
look into it.
and then, and so the other weird thing about this part of the table is that the net county cost for the program that's titled Insurance Reserves and Miscellaneous was negative
Yes.
1.2 billion.
Yes.
And that number exactly balances out all the net county costs in the other 6 programs, and that's how they balance their budget, so to speak. Because that under the total general fund programs, the appropriations have to equal the revenue. I assume, yeah.
Well, appropriations have to equal revenue plus net county cost.
Oh,
yes. So it's just actually a coincidence that this is the same amount. It has to do with reclassifying funding, but I don't know the details because they're not in the budget. They must have reclassed some spending.
It's astounding that they suddenly found $1.2 billion.
They moved a lot of one-time funding last year. And I think it has something to do with the carryover from this, but it's not in the budget. So all we can do is like speculate and then ask them to explain, really. It's a case where usually have a slide I show people that has like a cauldron with a dollar sign and plus sign and dividing sign coming out of it. And it says budget math is more magic than it is math because this is like we actually can't figure it out from this table. But I think when the county says that money is flat, this is where I suspect there's something they're not like explaining really well to the public around why did they use a bunch of one-time money last year and how did they classify that one-time money, which could have been last year was their last chance to spend ARPA money, which was a huge amount of one-time money. And so
Mhm.
this could be some bookkeeping related to that. But that's my best guess, but I really don't know. And you don't see negative net county cost numbers. I've been doing this for a while with California counties. I don't see negative net county cost numbers very often at all, only in very small budget items usually. So it's a very strange
Yeah,
circumstance.
very strange. So one more thing that I thought people might want to hammer them on in the district attorney's budget breakdown. They have a variety of, I guess, what you could call performance metrics, where they're
Hmm.
supposed to like bring at least this number of cases, to trial, or to open this number of indictments or something, some along those lines. I mean, there's a whole variety of them. And they had reported no performance metrics whatsoever. They had not said whether they achieved those things or not. They didn't tell us what they did achieve, nothing. So, I know we all have a special place in our hearts for our district attorney. So, it seems like there's some real ammunition there, right in the county's budget, right there. So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's a great one, Tom. And that's I love when they do put performance measures in because either they're really poorly aligned with people's ideas of what the department does, they don't bother to do them in the first place. They're so trivial as to
right.
be meaningless, or they maliciously don't comply with the exercise of performance and management at all. And then pick your example. Yeah. I don't think there's any in the sheriff's department. I don't think they even performed they didn't even bother.
Mm,
I don't think. I
right.
mean,
I hadn't.
I usually skip
I,
past, but the you could just read the sheriff's highlights out loud too at the meeting and see if people agree in the community that those are the best ways to spend close to $1 billion. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's
So
good. I
again,
think these things are
thanks.
all good, right? It's good to put you, and I was saying to David and Pat earlier in the week or last week that it really shows the advocacy you all have done, how there's a bit of a defensive posture to the budget. And there are some direct responses, like the mandated services. That's on you guys. You made them come up with this, well, it's mandated and try to use this, and that's all responding to advocacy. And so it's frustrating that the budget isn't like shifting the way you want yet, but the first step is to get them kind of spinning this way. And I really do feel momentum when I read this, thinking, oh, I can see this is a response to pressure that they're feeling at their budget hearings year after year. And I think that's well worth thinking about. I wanted to highlight a couple other things before we're out of time that I know are important to folks on the call. First, I know people always ask about immigration, legal defense, and Padilla attorneys. There's no line item in the budget for that. So if it exists, it's both small and bundled into some other department or program area within a department and not highlighted. But the county does receive federal money for jailing immigrants through the SCAAP federal program. That's federal money that they accept and are counting on the revenue for. So that's called out specifically in the budget. It has its own little section. So I think that is a nice juxtaposition to put into the budget and important to highlight on that important issue. Um, and then I also just wanted to point out that there's a lot of rumblings that HUD is going to rework the block grants in the next federal budget, and the county is counting on more HUD grant funding than they've received in the past in the upcoming budget, and there's zero county dollars put in place to offset a potential budget reduction to federal housing voucher programs, which would not be a good insurance against which would be a good idea to maybe put in place, and I have. All right, that's it for me. I see that Eve has a question, so now I'll turn over to folks to ask questions.
Oh, thanks, Jared. I apologize for being a little late to the game here. The document I have open is the Google Doc that you sent a while ago, and I don't know if you have anything else, but I was wondering if you had done the same analysis that you did last year on the amount of discretionary dollars committed to housing to end houselessness, like anything around, which last year was essentially nothing. It was like 1.6 million, mostly for administrative costs for some program or another. But that was like a really powerful statistic. And then compared to the amount of discretionary dollars going to the sheriff's department, including the jails.
Yes,
It is
I
probably
remember
somewhere,
talking.
and I don't have the right document in front of me.
Yeah,
or,
I
or I
remember
do, and
talking
I
to you
can't see
about
it.
this, but here's one for you, Eve. It's what David drew the toolkit from, and it has more detail
Okay.
specifically on that issue for you. And it has a lot of footnotes. It's a little, but it's the footnotes show you like exactly in the budget. And it's actually um, there's $15 million of net county costs for homelessness services, but that's not for permanent supportive housing or housing first strategies. And like you said, I believe it's not $0, but it's less than $1 million of net county costs is going toward housing first specific programs that are not part of the homelessness services department. So I think it's
Okay.
fair to say zero. I mean, honestly, like make them show you the $283,000 and ask them what they think about it. It's not, it's fair to say $0 for that.
Okay. That's really helpful. I could say less than 1 million or possibly even zero.
Yes, compared to whatever you want to compare it to that makes it
Yeah.
look bad. Yep.
Thank you, Eve. Jared, I know you're on a time schedule. You've got a hard leave at, I think it's at 6 o'clock.
I
Any,
pushed it back a tiny bit. So if folks are really interested to talk, I can go a little bit past the hour.
okay, anything that you saw out of the budget that, and thank you, by the way, for creating those um, comments on each section. There's like 6 sections. It created some comment samples for us. Is there anything out of the budget that you or Hannah took a look at that made you say, "What the heck?" That HHROC should bring to their attention, and then we'll go to Alice.
Well, I think one thing is I think Tom's question actually speaks to the broader public of like if how are we supposed to interpret more than negative $1 billion and that just being different than last year? Why can't they explain that in a like straightforward and plain language way? Because let's just say that maybe there is more money and they're not putting it in the budget, right? They're waiting and that's an Orange County classic strategy, right? You have a second set of budgets in the supplemental budget, and then you maybe find out you had a lot more money and you can give it away with less public pressure. Set them up to not do that by, I think, emphasizing like this needs to be really well explained. You're saying the total revenue is down, but actually, like you're thinking tax receipts and stuff are stable or going up. How are we supposed to make sense of this? Because revenues are a really important part of the budget equation. I think the second thing that does stick out to me is and I'm obsessed with staffing because I think chasing the dollars can get you bogged down in the weeds with supervisors and budget directors. If you just like the staffing org chart is what determines what the county's doing. And the fact that what really struck me there is learning that the sheriff's department has such a low vacancy rate. That's almost unheard of across the country. I mean, most police department agencies struggle to staff their department. They're usually the least well staffed. They're usually constantly struggling to fill positions. So that probably says it's a pretty good gig competitively to be in the OC County Sheriff's Department. And it's not a good gig to be in all of these other areas because they all have much higher vacancy rates. And so I think it could be opening a wedge to say, like, why isn't the county a first-rate employer for the healthcare agency, for mental health services, and for all these other things? But we're working so hard to be a first-rate employer for the sheriff's department and the sheriff's department alone. I think that could be it's like one thing that every people can understand without getting bogged down in the numbers or worrying about the math is like that can really help people get a sense of like what are the county's priorities. It's clear that they're the sheriff's department when you see stuff like that. I mean,
Thank,
they tout building a $1.3 million gym for the
thank you.
deputies. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Alice, we've got just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no, I was just going to point out that that the addressing and prioritizing and informing is also part of the findings of the what do we call this? The Orange County Grand Jury report, where it actually has given deadlines of June 30th, 2026 on prevention of homelessness and partnering with nonprofits, which I mentioned before, June 30th. So there are some regulatory information that should be present in that budget, at least in those two issues. And then also a comprehensive awareness campaign by services offered by 2110C, which I recognize but not understood, and asking them to put money toward the accomplishment of outreach, partnerships, local media, community events, and training. So there are a lot of points just from the report of last year that we can also focus on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared,
No,
for all
thank
your
you.
work.
Yeah. Pat, I see your hand up.
Yep, watching that clock too. I want to go follow Jared to the LA meeting. We think we're fun. LA's even more. Actually, I think we're unique in every way. But this
You
this
are.
is so everyone knows this is the beginning of another year cycle. So we will plan something probably a couple months out based on how much chastising goes on during the budget hearing tomorrow and follow-up letters and that sort of thing. But Jared and Hannah follow us through the year and would love to do more of this, community-based work where we're looking. And Jared, one thing I was wondering about, and it's not necessarily even for tomorrow, but you referenced the pass-through dollars, that they generously act as though they're funding these programs so generously. And we know the state and feds are threatening cuts and the HUD mess. How would we best follow that? Or how could we ask them to be our guides in what those cuts look like? It's going to be an excuse, but they also should maybe, and some have, use us as allies in their advocacy work.
Unfortunately, I think the federal cuts are all theoretical right now. You know, who knows what's going to happen. Right. So I think there's a lot of speculation, but it's really tough to say, and it'll be an 11th hour thing. So I don't know, what you can say to them is, if you think the budget says they don't think federal cuts are coming, which is wild.
Okay.
But as a document, if you read this, you'd think everything is great at the federal government and they're going to give even more money to Orange County this year. You can ask them about that, but I don't think you could. Yeah, I don't know. You can't really follow federal cuts. The state budget, that's where the supplemental budget is usually really a response to the final state budget that gets passed. And so
Right.
I think that conversation might be good to have at the supplemental budget stage, but it might be useful to preview to them here. If the state's under fiscal pressure, and especially social services at the state level are under fiscal pressure, why aren't you continuing to maintain service levels by investing,
Right.
during this period? I think it's good to put that on the table and ask the question, like, I think, why wouldn't you think about that? What you protect in tough times tells you what your values are, and they don't think tough times are going to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. No, and again, with the governor's election, there'll be a lot of contentiousness all the way around for some of this. So, but thank you. And I'm not seeing who else has got some things. I know folks here, we're going to stay on and talk, but we will be in touch. And I appreciate how you continue to read the board agenda minutes. Those are such thrilling things. I got to get a better search engine. Some of the folks in this room come to us from cities, come to us from districts, come to us from other communities. And again, the intersections of all these dollars just seem to keep coming back to the carceral model our county embraces, and the devaluation of human lives and the dignity of health and other services. But this was good. And thank you. I do, folks, will hang on, and I hope you get some rest tonight. I'm sure LA will entertain you.
I'm going to stay up and watch the New York Knicks hopefully
There you
lose
go.
to
Oh,
San
yeah.
Antonio.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
and isn't Trump messing up one of the games coming to
Yes,
the city?
exactly.
Jesus. He's such a draw, I tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right,
I
Matt
will
dear.
say, folks, if you do have questions, just send them to me. I mean, if I can't get to them fast, I'll tell you that. And sometimes they're really fast for me to get to because
Yeah.
Hannah and I are refining our process every year. We're getting more and more familiar with the tricks in the budget. And so I understand that it moves fast when it's in the cycle. And so I just always encourage, folks, you can just reach out, ask your question. I'll give you my honest assessment whether I can answer it or not, and what my best guess is, and what I think you might be able to say or do with the information available. And just think of us as a resource for stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it's fun to get in the same room together. That always helps. Um, and we will send out those slides when Jared sends those us. If you all here drop your email in the chat, we'll make sure you get those latest pieces of information that we didn't get to see live, but it is in the toolkit, or parts of it are in the toolkit. But thank you. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Yeah,
And-
keep up the
and
good work. Keep
Ja-
making them
Jared?
sweat.
Bye.
Jared, one last thing. When you
Sure.
send the slides, if you have it available, could you also forward the state legislation that identifies the mandates?
Oh yeah, I will look. Hannah had that in the slides last year, so I will add the citation for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh.
All right,
Thanks
take
as
care.
always,
Th-
Thanks,
Jared.
folks. Hang
Bye
on.
bye.
All righty. So we'll continue our conversation and figure out what tomorrow looks like to everybody. And again, if you haven't yet, folks who are familiar in the room, please do drop your email in the chat so when we get those later tonight and go from there. So I'll turn it over to Dave to talk about tomorrow. And Maria, I'm looking for a t-shirt that might work for you. So we're in the closet search right now, as it were.
Thank you, Pat. I'm going to start off again by thanking everybody for being here. Does anybody have any questions about tomorrow? If we could do maybe put something in the chat if you think you are going to be attending tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors, that would be great. But any questions regarding the budget? Not that I'm a budget person, but I want to make sure that I have your questions so that once we get the PowerPoint presentation or Jared gets all that information to us, hopefully I can reply to answer your question. Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody? Tom, you're going to be there as well. I think I saw Eve was going to be there.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
be there.
Okay. Alice. Okay. So, all right. And don't forget at the Board of Supervisors for that budget hearing, you can also participate via email if you're unable to attend. That'll be also in the toolkit. I'll put that toolkit link in the chat for you again. And you can participate that way and let the Board of Supervisors know your thoughts via email if you're unable to attend. It would be great if it's for tomorrow's meeting, but that email is good at any time to send it in.
And
So
I would add that you have some really good talking points and sort of sample messages, if you will, towards the end of the toolkit. So I encourage people to scroll all the way down and go through the, look at the different issues that you can talk about, and you can just lift that language right out of there, maybe alter it a little bit or whatever, and send it in. So it's pretty simple. Those were really well written, I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. And Jared wrote those up. There's been a couple of edits to them, but the 99% of those were written by Jared and Hannah, and they were kind enough to give them to us so that we would have some talking points on, let's say, immigration, talking points on homelessness, and other issues. I think there's 6 different categories. So if nothing else, please use your own words and maybe take some of the stats and some of the data that's provided in those talking points to help make your thoughts and concerns known to the supervisors. Um,
Who need that?
yeah, Eve, did you? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you have any legislation that the room should be aware of regarding budget or things of that sort? I know you follow that pretty closely.
Um, like this, like the state budget, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, not any good news. Um, I mean, I think without going into details, although like one thing that's really shocking to me, but this I think this is just like a little off topic. Is that Governor Newsom is pushing in during the budget reconciliation process to change Medi-Cal so that like right now, Medi-Cal recipients, people qualify for Medi-Cal if they have like up to 100 and I think $30,000 in assets. And he wants to lower the asset limit to $2,000 so that for people with disabilities and older adults who qualify who are eligible for Medi-Cal because of that, and then also because they're low income. So essentially forcing people, in order to get things like in-home supportive services, right? Forcing people to like spend down their entire life savings before they can qualify for Medi-Cal. So and that is in response to federal cuts in Medi-Cal in HR1, the big bad bill. So I think the way that things like like that, relate to our local budget advocacy is that electeds are likely to cut programs for poor people in order to make up for tax cuts to the wealthy, right? In order to balance the budget. And it trickles down. So the county gets a lot of federal funding for Medi-Cal, right? For Cal Optima in Orange County. And what we will be doing is just creating more poverty and and then balancing it on the backs of balancing these tax cuts for the wealthy on the backs of poor people. So I don't know, like I don't like everything is so like in the air right now, Dave. I mean, we've had HR1, right? But in terms of the state budget, the final state budget hasn't been passed yet. So, I don't know if there's much to say except for kind of, I think there's a lesson there that we don't want Orange County to be, to follow that same playbook.
Right, right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
I think that was what was initiated under Reagan. Not was it under Reagan as well? Because I remember when my mom, after my dad died, had to go on Medi-Cal, and she transferred her savings to my brother and my sister and I, just so that she could hide it, literally,
Yeah.
because they only allowed $2,000 per in a savings account. So
Yes.
that's a very Reagan-esque concept.
It's a very, yeah. And here we have a supposedly Democratic governor like doing the same thing. But like, I
Well,
don't
he's
want to
going
get
out.
us,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
going
I
out the
don't want to get
door.
us too, removed
Yeah.
from our planning for tomorrow. Um, it's just, I mean, I hope folks are gonna mention that that the percentage of the discretionary budget going to public protection has increased by, I'll have to like figure out the math, what percent, but from like what they, last year they said it was like 52% or something, or 53%, and now it's over 60%. It's just unbelievable. Um, it's unbelievable. And then
Yeah.
Jared says 0 to supportive housing.
Right, right. So there, none of the net county cost, $0 of net county cost, or less than 1 million, let's say, is going to supportive housing by comparison to uh, many, many millions. I don't have that number to mind going into law enforcement, for example.
Yeah. Does I mean the I don't know if Jared quite got my question, but the Google Doc that I have doesn't have any of those numbers on it. So it's almost like just notes that he was taking on the budget. Has he circulated? I've just been so busy. It might be in my email somewhere, but
Yeah,
has he circulated something more detailed?
yes and no. I'm waiting for the PowerPoint
Okay.
that he was trying to provide tonight. I think you were CC'd in the emails, Eve. He's been corresponding a couple of times with Pat and I, answering some questions and giving some updates. Um, so, so yes, I think we're up to date on almost everything. And I'll get back to you in a second. Marie, go ahead.
And that toolkit link too, Eve. There, that's where he'll load other stuff. Go ahead, Marie. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I was just I wanted it looks like he's got six and they look awesome in the different topics. Is that a strategy we want to do? And then just give me one and I'm happy to do whichever anybody doesn't want to do. I think not saying the same thing but having the similar message is going to be good, that repeated hit. And yeah, there's a few of these things I would be very happy to clearly articulate my feelings about to the county. So
I
really,
think
how many of us are there? And do we want to split them up and pick a topic, or what's the strategy?
So, for tomorrow, thank you for bringing that up, Marie. For tomorrow, we're hoping we don't get any time cut. We're hoping that we are allowed to give our full 3 minutes. But in case we get cut, that's how we always prepare, because historically they cut us back to like 2 minutes. So those talking points were cut with that in mind. But yes, feel free to choose any one of those. I'm sure we'll take turns using those comments. And if we use those words verbatim more than once in the room, I don't think that's a bad thing. Although I'm hoping that we address at least all 6 of those items. So before we go any further, I want to just give a brief what's happening tomorrow. So
Dave, before you
tomorrow,
go there,
yeah,
Dave, before you go there, to uplift what Marie's saying, can we look at those 6 areas and just make sure somebody here is going to take one of each of those? So that is part of what they try to incorporate in their 2 minutes. If they get three, it's
okay. You,
limitless. That would be
we have
helpful.
time. I can put them on screen and we can just briefly go over them.
I think that would help. Would that work for folks here? And also, if you're going to be writing emails, we can do the same, but also could probably uplift all 6 from emails perspective. And if we get them in by 9:30, they will go in the minutes of this meeting. So that's an important frame down the road, of course, but to get them in this meeting summary will be important.
Okay, can you see the screen okay? Okay. So this is the toolkit on our website. Just so you'll know, it's the drop-down toolkit for 2627 OC budget. Here we go, and we'll scroll on down. And I want to get to those talking points. A lot of good information here about what we're doing tomorrow, parking, things of that sort. But here's the hearing packet for tomorrow. Now, this is called the big picture. And here is the sample wording. And it's a sample script talking points about the budget and its widely used dollars, discretionary dollars, and how it's up and down. I won't read it all to you, but and then we have housing versus jails and how much the county is spending on housing versus jails. Oh, look, there's $0 of net county cost. And then a sample script about that. And then homelessness. Let's see, 15 million compared to 320 million that goes to the jails. Jared touched on that. And again, here's some talking points about that information. Mental and behavioral health. So this has to do with the vacancies. The sheriff vacancy rate right now is they have about 200, if I can read that correctly, 250 open positions. They're vacant. But healthcare agency has 432. Like, it's like, why? Do they not prioritize the public's health? And here's the talking points about that. Immigration, legal defense. This is quite interesting here. He brings up a really good point that even though the county gets quite a bit of federal money and things of that sort, they show nothing about it in the budget. And here it's a really good one to read, to update yourself on that. In community programs, Orange County Community Resources, the whole department. And again, talking points on that. And for, you can click here for resources. Here's all of his resources and research as to where he found it, and a lot of numbers. So you could just use one of these areas here to write up if you wanted your own public comment. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a brief look at the budget as we prepared it. Let me see here. I guess I have to stop sharing, huh? There we go.
And also, Dave, I know you're going to go over tomorrow, but the key is we're going to be talking before they do the presentation, unless they totally turn it upside down, which I'm sure they have to do that part because public comments precedes whatever format it looks like. So don't be surprised if you don't get a board member to ask a question of staff that comes directly out of what comment you picked to speak from, and we can try to make note of that. And in the ICE issues and Padilla attorneys, I added in the chat, but what an ask is, and Stephanie may have more information on that, is part of the ask is for, yes, Padilla attorneys, which they've staffed some, but they don't have staff support to keep the work moving. So an attorney's time is wonderful, but they also need some folks to actually move some things through the process. So if you do come upon that one as your thing to comment on, it's make sure that there's adequate staff support to keep folks, efforts for returns or some kind of asylum are moving forward. I heard Tom
Yes.
there.
Oh, I was going to volunteer to do the big picture one.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
The big picture one. Oh,
That's the first one.
that-
Yeah.
that's the first one.
Yeah.
So try to get your card in first. If you all are organized outside, that would be a great way to open it too.
Right.
And we have to remember we've got a couple of supervisors that could care less because they're on their way out, and that's Chafee and Wagner. So we're talking to Bricks in that regard. We've been talking to Bricks in that regard even before they were scheduled to leave their positions.
Wagner
But
wants to be
that's a
Secretary of
step.
State.
That's a step up though, because they used to be walls.
Yeah.
My experience was walls.
Mhm.
No, I think that's probably true because well, at least Wagner was running for another office, right, at the state level. I don't know about Chafee, but if if either one of them are just sort of retiring, maybe they're not beholden to the donor class anymore. And if they do have any moral values in their bodies, they can just vote their conscience now, instead of catering to the donor class, which apparently wants everybody just like, unhoused people just locked up and tax cuts so that they can continue getting wealthier.
Yeah, that's an optimistic view, but I'm hoping you're right.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're right. Marie, I don't know if you saw me hold it up a little earlier. If it's coming over, we've got your t-shirt. Found it. I'll bring it tomorrow.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hey,
And
what time are we meeting again?
between 8:30 and 9.
Okay. And the website looks great. Now I see where all these talking points are, so I'm feeling a lot better. And they're really well fleshed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jared and Hannah always do a great job, and I'll try and print out some of the PowerPoint once Jared gets that to me tonight, and have those that we could use for the overhead, uh, if need be.
And I'm sorry, I have to drop off my son in Irvine at 9. Well, I'm going to do it a little bit beforehand, so I'll be scooching it in just at the edge.
Okay, we'll fill out a card for you, Marie, if that's okay.
Perfect. That would
Okay.
be lovely. Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
great.
I was
And
thinking of
maybe save
doing.
me a seat.
Sure.
I was thinking of doing one section of number 2, connected to the Superior Court. What is it? The Orange County Grand Jury recommendation on
Okay.
prioritizing the prevention of homelessness.
Okay. Is that tied into one of the scripts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, it's not. It's not one of the scripts, but it's talking about public protection versus OC
Oh, that's right.
community
That's right. Thank you.
resources. So the resources aren't outlined, and I want to know whether they accomplished how that aligns with. This was the number one issue recommendation from the grand jury is that it should be accomplished by June 30th, that they have are earmarking sufficient discretionary funds toward the objective of prevention, prioritizing the prevention of homelessness rather than primarily reactive measures.
Okay, all right.
So that's a
just
small
while
part, but I don't think we can't speak more than once, can we?
we can speak up to 3 times at the Board of Supervisor meetings. Um, we can talk on agenda items, at least 1 or 2 agenda items, and then we can speak again at public comments, which is generally at the end of the meeting. Or we could talk about 3 agenda items, but you have 3 opportunities to speak at Board of Supervisors.
Do you happen to know which agenda items would be most appropriate to speak to get in one of these scripts?
Yeah, that's what
Pat,
I was wondering too.
do you have that figured out yet?
Well, no, I can look at it for a minute, but that's only if they flip the order of the meeting. But I think everyone will want to move to the budget first because they have quote staff time, unless they told them all to come around lunchtime, which I doubt. But I can look at that. They're actually, interestingly enough, many of them are supplemental budget items. I think there's 1 through 11, and then there's a whole bunch of supplementals added after the first agenda was put out. But I can look at that while we're here. And I was going to ask Pat Goodman, are you going to be able to join us in Santa Ana, or are you doing a written thing? You might be multitasking like the rest of us.
Pat,
Go ahead.
no, I'm not able, I'm traveling, so
Oh, good for
I'm
you.
gonna be away. Yeah, I apologize.
No. That makes all the difference. You'll make the long haul. And what do we know about Huntington Beach? Anything yet on the election?
The elections. Well,
On the city
there
council.
wasn't anything related to Huntington Beach on the election.
Yeah.
That's not till November. The city council, you mean?
Oh, God, thank you. Okay. Because that
Yeah.
was that big push just before for money, and I thought that was part of it. Thank you for helping my brain not keep tracking down
Yeah.
Ben Davis.
But
Excellent.
at least one of the city council members, Vandermark, she looks like she'll be one of the top 2 in the assembly. So she won't be able
Jesus.
to run for city council.
Okay. Okay. That works. Very good. Well, it's nice to have you here. Good to see.
Thank you. And Jenny, I think, is here too.
Yeah, I
So
saw
it's
Jen.
a terrific
Well,
presentation.
and we need to.
We have dived into our budget.
Yes, yes.
So.
And we do want to have them back. And again, maybe try to do something quarterly, especially with all the other unknowns in the process and who's going to be on what, who's going to be elected for what. But we'll stay in touch. So enjoy your travels. And again, thank you for being here. I'm probably going to do some in writing, and then based on the timing, I'll be in the room as well. So
yeah, I did submit a comment.
Excellent. Super. And the other piece is we've got Janine and Mike that we're going to talk to after the meeting to put content areas. So let's keep moving through the 6 and see what we got.
Okay. I'm certainly open to taking anyone that's not utilized. And I know, to Pat Goodman's point, this is not going to be our only visit to the Board of Supervisors. We are planning to do this again. It's the budget approval process goes throughout the year, like quarterly, like Pat was talking about. So hopefully you'll have an opportunity to be there in person through one of those other actions. We'll keep you updated to that. And again, I'll be getting, I'm hoping, keeping fingers crossed, all the PowerPoints from Jared so I could send them all out. And just a point of interest, I attended the Orange County budget. They called it a workshop a week or so ago. There was no presentation with the exception of a TV screen that was on a loop that was showing some of the budget numbers, but no one in the room presented anything. This time, when you went in as a member of the public, you were just asked to find somebody with a county shirt or name badge on and start asking them questions if you had some. A little different format from the ones I've attended in the past. I will say, however, this one was the best attended um, county event regarding the budget that I had been to in the last few years. There were easily about 2 dozen members of the public there, and probably about 2 dozen Orange County employees. Um, but I had an opportunity to stand at a table. They're like little cocktail tables, and talk with a couple of representatives about the budget and discretionary funds and the sheriffs and things of that sort. And one of the best quotes that I got from this young man was, the mandatory budgets that are that the county has to deal with are very cloudy. They're very gray. They're not something we can go right to the budget and pull out. So yeah, he says, I understand your frustration. So that's that's coming from the guy who was in charge of working with housing in the budget. That's how he described it to me. So it was a little eye.
Yeah, that does sound eye-opening.
TBD, to be determined.
So anybody else have any questions about tomorrow? Sorry for the dogs.
What topics are the others picking?
Anybody have I'll tell you what, if you could do me a huge favor, whatever topic you've chosen, if you haven't already done so, be it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, please put it in the chat. I'll make sure I print out some of those talking points to bring with me tomorrow.
And then we know what to say to Mike and Janine.
And I'm sure Mike and or Janine will also help out to fill in whichever ones aren't being claimed yet. And again, I don't think there's any problem by repeating ourselves on any one of those 6 items. Um, just the
If
history of all of that shows that there's reporters in the room or reporters listening in. There's the people in the room, the public that's attending virtually, watching online. So it's not just to the supervisors that we're talking to. I'm optimistic that we're not going to get time cut. I'm optimistic that we're going to be allowed to give public comments. I think one of the allies, a silent ally that we have, is the county council. I think he's I want to say made decisions on our behalf in a positive way in the past, where Chafee wanted to cut our time or not let us speak. County council said, no, I think they should go ahead and talk. It's relating to this agenda. So I'm hoping that we don't have any problems tomorrow. We get our full 3 minutes.
Um, can you speak to the process of showing something, on the overhead? Do you just bring the pieces up with you and it's already there and powered up and everything, or?
Yeah,
Um,
we go ahead.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like historically, I've kind of manned oh, are you talking about PowerPoint or the overhead projector?
Oh,
The overhead.
overheads.
The
Yeah.
overhead? Yeah, historically, like Pat and Dave have printed out all of the visuals and then I've kind of rotated them depending upon what people are saying. Like, I'll try to find the right one and put it on the overhead. But if you have some visuals that you know the order, and the slides that you want to project, you can hand them to me in the right order, and I can do it for you, so that you don't, because I just think you'd have to step away from the microphone to do it
Okay.
yourself.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to know
Yeah.
was how difficult it would be to just do it myself.
Yeah,
Okay.
very difficult. You could put one on and just leave it there, or maybe change it
Right.
once, but then you're wasting precious seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So
Thanks.
what would the slide be? Last year, I think we did slides from the budget, Civilytics did.
Yeah, I think it
Is that
looks like they've created some good graphics again. So, like on that toolkit kit website on hhroc.org. So I
okay?
think like it sounded to me from what you said, Dave, that you and Pat are gonna print those out, and so we will have those available.
Yeah, I'm hoping Jared sends me the PowerPoint that he wasn't able to share on screen,
Yeah,
and then we'll go through there because if I try and blow up some of the graphics that are on the document, sometimes they will lose um, a lot of the clarity. So I don't know that I can use those. I'm hoping
yeah.
he sends us the PowerPoint, so it'll be a bigger representation and it'll look a lot better on screen.
And let's print one of each, or two of each. So there's one to put on the overhead and one to make sure whoever's going to address that topic has with them as they speak, because they do seem to be also related to these content areas that we've divided up to. And because some of our funding is targeting healthcare and the intersections of community and services, want to make sure we got somebody who's uplifting that whole area. And Marie, did you see an area you wanted to tackle?
I was trying to type it in. So it looks like we've got
Oh, sorry.
one and two covered. I'm definitely happy to do three. I mean, I can do 3 and 4 if we can do more than one. So at our city council meeting, you can only talk for one in one topic, but there's different topics. Like if it's an agenda item, you get to talk, and then also public comment. So I've talked more than once, but it's on a like it's actually in different agenda items. So if it can be in the same agenda item, I'm happy to do both 3 and 4. Or if we need to strategically break those up in two different places, then I can go up twice and I can do two and then, do three, or whichever order it's necessary to put it
Well,
up. So,
with the layout of this, right now we're just planning the comments that are going to be part of the actual budget hearing, which they have public comments and they have the county staff go up. So it's only a one shot at that point.
so
What
we
we're
only get,
also
okay.
Yeah. And so what we're also asking people to look at is if you see anything in those other agenda items, I haven't been successful in focusing on that just yet, but if you see things in there that you want to be able to uplift, you could attach yourself there, but I don't know that staff for the budget will be in the room to hear it. Not that they're the only audience, but they're the ones who help the supervisors understand what the hell the public is telling them, because the supervisors don't always retain or know exactly what we're talking about, other than
Yeah,
when
well,
they want to chastise us.
I'm happy to get 3 then. I will take on 3 and then I'll just print. I'll go over this a few times so I'll get my my timing down so that I'm under
Good.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy to do number 3.
Yay. Okay. That helps.
Thank you, Marie. And if you're under 2 minutes, great, but make plans to be able to speak for 3 minutes. So if you have extra notes that you want to
Then
use,
maybe I could do 4.
well, um, I'll leave that to you, but
Okay.
I think 2 to 3 minutes is probably realistic. We only have maybe a half a dozen or so people that will be giving public comments. So
Okay.
I don't think with that particular number we're going to get cut back. Years past, we had 17, 20, even close to 70 or 80 people before years ago. But I think uh, 6 to 12 people. I think we're good to go with the 3 minutes, presuming Chafee's in a semi decent mood.
Well, I'm of a mind that there are going to be some strange bedfellows there to also speak to the budget. So it's just of us. We have like 8, but who knows who's going to show up from the peanut gallery of other
True, true.
commenters.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, with Mike and Janine, we can pick out a spot. Tom's got his, Alice got hers, Marie's got hers. Um, Eve, I see your content. Does that fit into the other numbers, or is that kind of an overarching piece? I'm sorry, I'm not more familiar with it.
Where's the overarching piece again?
Yours is the
Yours,
homelessness.
Yeah, it would definitely, okay. So, but what I'm saying is where is that? Is that on the
no, I'm
in the
asking,
toolkit?
does this identify with the 1 through 6?
Well,
Or
what I'm saying is where is the 1 through 6 document? Is that the toolkit, the online toolkit,
It was the
or
one
Yeah.
that was linked in the chat. That's what I
okay?
do.
Let me
So, and
see.
then scroll down because that one's numbered.
Okay, cool. Hold on here. Thank you, thank you. So is it the one that says HHRC OC budget hearing toolkit?
Yeah, and just scroll. If you keep scrolling down, you'll start to see the numbers.
yeah, go in that toolkit and then you'll see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, like option 1, option 2?
Keep
No?
going.
Okay.
Yeah, we use
Sorry.
numbers a
So
couple
sorry.
times. No, that's
I've
it.
been writing my letter as we've been talking because I don't want to like be at this all night. But I'm sending a written public comment and coming for
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
uh
good.
oral public comments tomorrow. Okay, let me see. You can say much more in the written one.
Yep.
Okay, let me see here.
Shh.
Oh, okay, no. Is it these things like housing versus jail?
Correct.
Yes,
Yes, that
Okay, I think it's closest to housing versus jail.
that was,
Because I
which
put
number
that
is
in
that?
there. It's just like but I kind of expanded it to be like, you've expanded you're committing like nothing to housing to end houselessness, and you've increased public protection by this much, and like nothing to houselessness, but 300 and whatever it is million to the jails. And then I have those a couple of statistics, like the one that from the Voice of OC article that Noah came up with on like 40% or something of the jail population are unhoused
Right.
people. And then the REPA data that I had analyzed that shows that the sheriff's deputies, like 40, like no, 28% of sheriff's deputies non-vehicular stops are of unhoused people, and they represent like 1/5 of 1%
Of
of
the
the entire
population.
population,
Yeah,
Orange County. So that, and then I
that's a
kind of
great
like end
one.
by wrapping it up and saying, so what you're doing, is using law enforcement approaches to solve what is essentially like an affordable housing crisis. So by targeting and disappearing unsheltered people in jails. And then I couldn't help myself. I don't know if I'm going to have time, but the last part of the comment is like putting to rest the talking point around like 89% of the discretionary budget is mandated.
Yeah.
Saying
Yeah.
like, don't, just knock it off. I said, finally, I want to put to rest the recent county talking point on the discretionary budget that 98% of the budget is mandated. This is wordplay and it's disingenuous. While it's true that you're allocating discretionary dollars to programs like the sheriff's department that are mandated, there is no mandate to allocate any specific amount of discretionary dollars to public protection. And then I think I'll end by saying something like, stop trying to deflect responsibility and do the right thing.
And Dave, you know these numbered things. To me, Eve ties in several pieces. So again, trying to think what we're going to pass off to Mike and Janine. Do you see a place that fits, or that's kind of an that hits a few different points? Because we've still got Tom, Alice doing number 2, Marie doing number 3.
Well, okay. Well, Eve was just talking about doing number 2, basically.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah.
Well, and then Alice
So-
gets to hit on the grand jury piece. Right, Alice? Wasn't that what you were referencing a bit ago?
Right.
Or is
Yeah,
it-
I want to know, whether they accomplished. It says it has to be accomplished by June 2026. Anyway, I guess the
that
sufficient
works.
discretionary funds to prevent homelessness, I don't see in the budget.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've got it covered, and Eve will pick up other things in there. So we're still looking at 4, 5, and 6 as far as just make sure we touch upon. We got Janine, Mike, and Dave that are still, kind of out there. So I think we've got them covered, just in terms of sake of time. Does that make sense, Dave, with what you had in mind?
Yeah, I think we're on point. I think we're going to have enough. And again, if we duplicate one or
Exactly.
two of the comments, that's not going to hurt anything. They need to hear it 1,000 times. So
That they
I
suck.
think we're
I
good.
think do we have a tagline? You suck or anything like that we could use?
Depending on our talks, I'd like to uplift. I forget what group it was, but housing, not handcuffs.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah. All right.
And that's so true with those articles. We should print out the Voice of OC article and take. And,
Yeah, it has
and
a lot of
Stephanie's
good
comments
talking
were
points
rich
in it.
tonight. Yep. You were a great interview. And did you hear Stephanie's comments that she had asked that question and how unhoused folks, if you're in jail, you've been housed, honey. You're off the list. You haven't been unhoused for 5 years. You've had all those services the last 6 months in jail.
And it is expensive.
Oh yeah, high-end
Yep.
housing there. What to know? But that if there's a dig in there, that would be great. Go ahead.
Another thing that people can mention, more than once is to once again ask them to put a housing bond on the ballot.
Yep. Some
Yes.
kind of a funding measure. Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
And especially if they aren't backfilling things that we know are threatened and will continue to be threatened, at least played with. And the insecurity our folks are already feeling with their vouchers is only going to be magnified. And
Right.
were you in the DV meeting when they talked about, oh yeah, they've found them other vouchers? A woman said, it's like, yeah, but it's still a voucher that comes out of monies that are being dicked with. It's like, no, I'm sorry. My mouth is rich tonight. Shame. Anyway, I'm going to go take care of the dogs more. And then Dave and I have a date with Mike and Janine after this. and then we're ready for tomorrow. Dave's got a good printer now, so we're happy. We'll be able to print some things. And if I pick up anything in what I'm reading in the board, the board agenda, I'll let folks know, but I've got to get it on a bigger screen than I'm looking at right now. So that will help my eyeballs. Will.
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
everyone. Well, thank you. Any questions, please feel free to text or email. I'll try and get to them. Other than that, I'll be in yellow shirt tomorrow and hope to see you at Board of Supervisors.
Woohoo.
Yeah, and I
Oh,
just want to say I want to give a shout out to Pat and Dave, who you all do most of the coordinating with Jared and Civilytics and Hannah. And that's labor. And it's just it's just all coming together so nicely. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Our hope with the investment is that we will be able to use this all year, and let's make that commitment.
Yes.
I mean, this could just be our buzz for the whole year as long as we tie in the healthcare pieces. And I was so pleased that Hannah and Jared confirmed that now they do most of their budgeting in the freaking agendas throughout the year, and it's not compiled in any place that's easy. And they were even using AI to do some of the analysis. That's part of the pace picking up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do I what's the easiest way to find Jared's email in case I have another question for him?
I'll send it to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And then you'll see what we got there. Alice, I think you're on one of those threads. And yeah, he'll be doing LA for a bit. I haven't checked to see if he mailed anything between meetings, but he's got a fan.
Pat, while we're here, do you want to give a brief update on California Endowment?
California Endowment, we knew and we now know again that we have been refunded for another year, which is great, but we have to find a way and do some gainful employment for some folks to get that help that Eve so well pointed out is labor, and get some help with things. We are going to probably do an online meeting with Sandy. I CC'd several of you in the response to her, waiting for Miguel to get back to me, but we're on board. She'll still be our overseer of sorts for the year, which I'm thrilled with, because we who went to lunch learned that her life is kind of up and down, or her role is solid in the endowment, but how they're divvying up work is changing. And there's another new name on the email. So I think, we've got the opportunity, and I just would love it if we could find some folks who could give us some hours. I know we've talked interns and all that, but none of that has manifested. So we got to figure out a way to, keep this thing going, and also maybe boost up some folks' skill set as well as income. So that would be great. Is that what you were looking for?
Perfect. Thank you.
Right.
Anybody have anything?
I think they have a gathering tomorrow. The California Endowment has some kind of a presentation tomorrow while we're at the Board of Supervisors.
They do record those. I haven't seen that. If it's something to pass on, and Alice also has another event she's trying to go to. I got to go deal with a dog. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
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 Good night, everybody. Thank you again.
Good night.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
All right.
See you tomorrow.